Annyeong? Parang walang kabuhay. Okay, hello. Okay, for your next exercise, you will immediately proceed with exercise 4. Yet I would still require you to read and understand exercise number 3 and number 5 because this MOET covers both exercises, um, 3 and 5. Because MOET is an example of field fertilizer trial in exercise number 3. Whilst at the end of this activity, it will cover naman the exercise number 5, which is the nutrient deficiency symptom as well, because you are required to diagnose your test crop. Okay, so you are going to identify the nutrient deficiency symptoms exhibited by your test crop. Okay, and therefore, in order also to diagnose the deficiency symptoms of your test crop, you should know the deficiency symptoms that a crop would exhibit in cases there is a deficient in cases that the soil is deficient with nitrogen or with phosphorus or with potassium. Now, as I have said, field fertilizer trial, under it is this MOET, because field fertilizer trial is also the comparison of different treatments under actual field condition. Therefore, kapag under actual field conditions, you are not controlling the various environmental factors that could affect your plant, like climate and soil condition. And also, this is being done, yung field fertilizer trial, because the different or yung mga similar fertilizer treatments on plant growth and crop yield varies greatly in different locations and in different climates, and of course with different management practices. Now, yung field fertilizer trial, this is a technique. This is also a biological method of determining the status of the soil. So in your exercise number 2, that is soil test kit, so you were introduced with that soil test kit, which is a chemical analysis of soil. In that STK, yung ina-analyze mo lang doon is the soil lang. Pagdating sa field fertilizer trial sa -1 and -1 element technique, what you are going to diagnose and analyze there is both soil and plant. Okay? So, ulit, what is -1 element technique? So, this is a reliable technique that determines the soil nutrient deficiencies in actual field conditions. And this is a biological method used to determine the nutrient particular soil based on the actual performance of the plant subjected to test. So, kaya siya biological, it is because the one that you are going to diagnose here is the plant. And after that, you will conclude the condition of the soil based on what the plant have based on what the plant based on what the plant has exhibited. So whatever na inexhibit ng plant, you can tell also the status of the soil. So this -1 element technique is based on the law of the minimum, where it states that the plant's growth and yield are limited by the deficient nutrients. This means that if one crop nutrient is missing or deficient, plant growth will be poor even if other elements are abundant or present. So for example, uh, you have applied phosphorus, potassium, and other nutrient elements in your soil, but you did not apply uh, any fertilizer containing nitrogen. So therefore, that soil is limited by the nitrogen. Okay? Wherein, your crop will manifest what is the most limiting factor. So, yun nga, yung limited doon is yung nitrogen. So, the growth and development of the crop then is directly is directly affected by the limit by that limiting or by that limited ano ba by that nutrient that is limited. Okay? So this technique is able to determine the limiting nutrients that are not diagnosed in the soil chemical test, since the basis of the test results is the actual performance of the plants. So we are talking about the nutrient elements, no? Yung um, kung ano yung limited doon sa soil na nutrient element. Pero do not also forget that there are other factors that affects the production of your crop. So mostly these are environmental factors and soil conditions. So in environmental factors, of course, in conducting this experiment, you need to apply water, paarawan mo din, and ano pa, you have to practice cultural management. Kung maraming weeds yan, then you have to remove those. Okay, so the advantages of MOET is that it addresses the constraints of the laboratory chemical test, like the high cost of chemical tests, inaccessibility of test centers in remote areas, lack of good facilities and trained personnel to conduct chemical tests, and the delay of laboratory results. Now, you will only know the status of your soil sometimes through soil analysis. But through this -1 element technique, you can also know the status of your soil. So, hindi mo lang malalaman yung status ng soil mo through chemical analysis, ganon. So, this is its advantage, yung -1 element technique na ito. Now, for your activity then, okay, you need to gather all your materials first. So, you will be needing plastic pots that can hold at least 2 kilogram of soil. So, dapat 15 pieces yan. Okay? Then, soil taken from the field. And that soil should be uniform when it comes to the different properties. So, in order to be uniform, you have to take your soil in one area lang. Or dapat iisa lang yung source mo. And of course, yung test crop mo, so you will be needing seeds of corn. And then, fertilizers, urea, ammonium phosphate, and muriate of potash. Yung mga ito, this 4600, 020, and 0060, we call this the fertilizer grade. So the fertilizer grade for ammonium phosphate is 020. So it goes like with urea and muriate of potash. So number 1, collect soil from the field of study and load 2 kilograms in 15 plastic pots. Okay, so in that 15 plastic pots, load 2 kilograms per pot. So kung 15 yan, you need 30 kilograms of soil. Next is you plant 2 corn seeds per pot. Dalawa lang ha, dalawa lang. Okay na kapag namatay yung isa, pero wag lang yung dalawa. Okay? Kasi wala ka nang madadiagnose na crop pag ganun. Okay? Now, number 2, arrange the pots into 3 blocks. So, 1, 2, 3. So, pag nalagyan mo na ng soil, you arrange it na ha. And then, with 5 pots per block. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, this one kasi, you will have 5 treatments. For your treatment 1, do not apply fertilizer. So, control, you will call that your control. And for your treatment 2, minus nitrogen. Treatment 3 minus phosphorus. Treatment 4 minus potassium. Treatment 5, you complete the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And these treatments are replicated into 3. So, yan, 1, 2, 3. 3 replications. Okay, so these are the following treatments per pot. So, we have mentioned a while ago. Ayan. And then, apply the fertilizer following the recommended nutrient requirement of the test crop. So, I have already calculated if how much of nitrogen, phosphorus, or potassium you are going to apply in 2 kilogram of soil. Kasi per pot, di ba, 2 kilogram yan. Now, for your treatment 1, wala kang i-apply. For your treatment 2, you apply phosphorus. You apply phosphate, which is the source of your phosphorus. Apply 0.3 grams. And then, for potassium also, you apply 0.1 gram of potash. And, ganon din sa mga ito. Now, for your treatment 5, you apply the 3 fertilizers. So, 0.26 grams of urea to supply yung nitrogen. And then, 0.3 grams of phosphate to supply phosphorus, and so on. So, ganun ha. Per pot ito. Okay? Per pot. So, pwede ninyong i-mix na yung mga ito. I-mix na. Okay, again, for your layout. Yan. Okay, now, pag okay na kayo doon, okay, so compare the overall growth and yield performance of the test crop from the different treatments, document and interpret results. So, yung mga data that you have to gather are height, that should be every 2 weeks, and then observe the pest occurrence and overall appearance of your test crop. So, in that overall appearance, you observe the nutrient deficiency symptoms. So, now, you refer to exercise number 5. So, these nutrient deficiency symptoms, these are growth abnormalities or metabolic aberrations as a result when the concentration of an essential element in the plant drops below a level necessary for optimal growth. But you have to be careful in diagnosing because certain nutrient elements may exhibit the same symptoms with plant stresses like stress due to low water or plant disease infection. So you have to read that one and then internalize para hindi ninyo sabihin yung water stress tsaka yung mga plant disease infection ay nutrient deficiency symptoms. Okay? Now, dun sa, diba, nakapagpat na kayo ng soil, do not apply fertilizer agad ha. Ipa-germinate muna ninyo yung corn seedlings. Okay? Doon mismo sa pot pala, wag wag na ninyong ipa-germinate in different location or sa tissue, mga ganyan. Wag na ninyong gawin yung mga ganon. Directly sow it in your pot. So, remember, of course, you have to water it. Tapos, wag muna ninyong lagyan ng fertilizer. You put fertilizer after 2 weeks, mga around 2 weeks yun. Or, kung wala pang mga 2 to 4 leaves yung corn plant, wag muna kayo mag-apply ng fertilizer. If you observe that may 2 to 4 leaves na yung corn, then you apply fertilizer na. Okay? Kasi, we call that true leaves, yung 2 to 4 leaves. So, kapag nagkaroon na ng true leaves or 2 to 4 leaves, mag-apply na kayo ng fertilizer. In applying fertilizer, huwag ninyong ilapit masyado sa crop ha, at baka ma-burn yung crop, yung corn na yon. So, ilagay lang ninyo doon, of course, beside it, and then cover it with soil. Okay? Now, kasi you have to learn how to calculate for the amount of fertilizer to be applied in a given volume of soil or in a given kilogram of soil. So, ito na. So, first, you have to identify kung ano yung test crop mo. So, since ang test crop natin is corn, ayan, then, know the recommended nutrient requirement of the crop. Or we call that the recommended rate, RR, or fertilizer recommendation. So, the RR for corn is 120, 60, 60. Then, this means the corn requires 120 kg of nitrogen per hectare, 60 kg of phosphorus per hectare, and 60 kg of potassium per hectare. That is its recommended rate. And ito ang general recommended rate. So, kapag hindi mo alam yung soil status, you follow this one if you are going to plant corn. For you to know kung ilang amount ng fertilizer ang i-apply mo. Now, next is compute for the amount of fertilizer to be applied. So, you should know the recommended rate and then the available fertilizer in the market. So, since our test crop is corn, 120, 60, 60, and then what are the available fertilizers? So, commonly, the available fertilizers in the market are urea, ammonium phosphate, and MOET of potash. And again, this is their fertilizer grade. For urea, 4600, ayan. And then ammonium phosphate, and then MOET of potash. Next is, okay, an example problem. So, since ang a-applyan ninyo ng fertilizer is 2 kg of soil lang, diba, in a pot, ito yung ito yung i-calculate natin kung paano nakuha. Kasi yung pinakita ko kanina, that is already calculated naman, pero this is how we did it, okay? So, the weight of urea is equal to weight of the nutrient required or based from the based from the recommended rate. And then divided by the percentage of nutrient based from the fertilizer grade. So, yung urea, diba, urea ang kinakalculate natin. So, ang nutrient requirement for corn for nitrogen is 120 kg of nitrogen per hectare divided by the percentage of nutrient. 0.46. Remember, ang urea is 4600 ang kanyang fertilizer grade. So, we have here 260.87 kilogram of nitrogen per hectare. Now, this is in hectare. So, kapag ang a-applyan mo is in hectare, ito ang i-apply mo. Pero kaso, ang a-applyan kasi natin is 2 kilograms of soil lang. So, therefore, mag-ratio and proportion ka na lang. In 1 hectare, it contains 2 million kilogram of soil. Therefore, 260.87 kilogram of nitrogen over 2 million kilogram of soil, how many kilogram of urea are you going to apply if you are going to apply it in 2 kilogram of soil? So, ayan. Cross-multiply 260.87 times 2 kilogram divided by 2 million is equal to 0.000.00026 kilogram. And then convert it into grams, 0.26 grams urea per 2 kilograms of soil. So, this is what you are now going to apply in that 2 kilogram of soil. So, ang liit lang, ang konti lang. Okay, that is how you compute. Now, bakit ko tinuturo ito? Kasi, in case na hindi ka magtatanim ng corn, in case na ang test crop mo ay ibang crop, then, at least you know how to compute. And also, in case you did not use 2 kilogram of soil, ang ginamit mo is 5 kilogram or nag-field trial ka, so, at least alam mo na kung paano i-compute. Kapag nag-field trial ka, then area na ang i-compute mo doon, hindi na yung kilogram of soil. Okay, next. The weight of ammonium phosphate is equal to the weight of nutrients required, again, based from the recommended rate, and then percent nutrient based from the fertilizer grade of the fertilizer. Now, the recommended rate for corn, when it comes to phosphorus, is 60 kilogram of phosphorus per hectare divided by the fertilizer grade of ammonium phosphate, which is 0.20, kaya 0.20 yan. So, 300 kilogram of phosphorus per hectare. So, again, mag-ratio and proportion ka. Kaya, 0.3 grams to be applied in 2 kilograms of soil. So, ganun din sa muriate of potash. Kaya, 0.1 gram to be applied in 2 kilograms of soil. So, balikan na lang ninyo yung table that I've shown you kanina. Okay? Ito na yung mga yon. Now, for your final report paper or your write-up, I need to see the following. Okay, the title, -1 element technique, rationale, under rationale, introduction, which is also stated on your exercise number 4. So, kunin na lang ninyo doon, but you have to summarize it. Importance of the study, objectives. So, nandoon din ha, time and place of the study. For example, the study was conducted on February to April at Benguet State University. Ganon. Or kapag kinandak naman ninyo sa province, for example, sa mountain province, edi doon ilagay ninyo kung saan, yung location, okay? So, for methodology, documentations, very important ang documentations for your materials and the methods and procedures that you have done. And dito sa methods din, I need to see na kasali kayo doon sa picture para makita ko, you have to convince me na ginawa talaga ninyo yung exercise na ito. Okay? And of course, okay, sa results and discussion, documentations also is very important. Sa results, di ba, panay mga diagnosing kasi ang gagawin ninyo. So, for example, the result of treatment 1, okay, picturean ninyo and then you discuss, okay? And also, dito din ninyo ilalagay yung table ninyo for the height of the crop and other observations dito sa results. So, basta after results, you have to discuss. And then conclusion, and then answer the study questions. So, that's it. Thank you for listening and goodbye. Now, if you have questions, no, huwag naman kayong huwag kayong mahiyang magtanong. Kasi it's better to correct it earlier than malalaman ko na lang na mali pala yung ginawa ninyo. Okay?